Welcome to the lecture on motivation, or how to keep yourself writing, which is one of these strange things that writers need help and tricks and all kinds of things to keep going. My name is Dean Wesley Smith, and I'm sitting in my new office at WMG. It's still under construction here, but and it's also a Saturday afternoon on the Oregon coast, and my office is down on the main floor where my old office used to be upstairs. My office is down on the main floor of this building, and about 40 feet that way is Highway 101. So if you hear some strange noises, rumblings and things like that, it's just trucks and tourists, because I'm recording this at the end of July, or towards the end of July, in the middle of the summer, which is our height of our tourist season here. So that road is just solid out there. So I apologize for all the weird noises that will happen around me here as I record this. Okay, motivation, keeping ourselves going as writers. This is one of the strangest things that there is about writing, to be honest with you, because we all want to do this. This is not something that many people are forced into, especially, and I'm talking about fiction writing here. This is fiction writing. It's not something we're forced into, or it's the family business or anything else. It's all something that we choose to do, and often do it, in our spare times when we're starting with, when we have a family and day jobs and everything else, and we carve out an hour here and carve out an hour there to do this. So this is something that we really, really want to do. And it's not a hard job. I mean, this is not ditch digging. This is not going out and being a brain surgeon and having to stand and work on inside someone's head for 10 hours. My definition of my job is I sit alone in a room and make stuff up. Actually, I use another word, but that's okay. I sit alone in a room and make stuff up. And someone asks me what I do for a living. I say, I sit alone in a room and make stuff up. And they pay me silly amounts of money for doing that. So, why would I need motivation to do that? Well, the reality is I still do. To this day, I have to trick myself and all kinds of things I'm going to talk about here. So, part of this lecture will be how to get you going. And part of this lecture will be how to keep yourself going and to increase your productivity. Say you're going along and you're writing 1,000 words a week and you want to bump that to 2,000 words a week. Then this is the way to, this lecture, I hope, will give you some ideas. But every writer is different. Every writer is different. None of us are the same. And so what works for one person may not work for another. That's why I'm going to cover a whole gamut of different aspects of motivation and tricks and all kinds of stuff to keep you going. Now, in a couple other lectures, I had a procrastination and writer's block lecture, and those lectures are when you're facing that kind of issue. But this lecture is to find ways to keep you motivated, to keep you going throughout an entire year. Again, this is not difficult to do, but there's some problems with this. We all were born and raised, at least probably anybody who's watching this, in an era of extreme writer myths. We just learned stuff from parents and teachers and the media and everything else that sunk in very, very deep in all of us. And so suddenly we turn our attention to being the person who is doing the creating. Now, English teachers tell you how to be destructive of fiction, meaning how to tear it apart and analyze it and look at it. That's a great skill. And I got no problem with it because it's part of how you learn also. But they don't teach you how to put it together. They don't teach you how the creative process works. There's been lots of studies about how the back of the brain is the creative part. And the problem is that front of our brain, that critical voice right across the front here, is in control most of the time. That's what gets us through. You see a 2-year-old who's functioning out of their their creative voice all the time. They're just going wild. And it's the parents around them saying, don't do that, don't put that in your mouth, don't do this, don't do that, and giving us the rules that is this critical voice on top of us. And that's what English teachers and everybody else did for decades, for all of us. So therefore these myths, the myths of writing slow is writing better, that is just so alien to how the creative voice in the back of your head works. In fact, you do that and it's just, oh my, you have all kinds of problems. Rewriting 10 times, I mean, that's one of those things where, number one, you're not going to get much done, and number two, it's a myth, because that means you're creating something from the creative side, and then all of this critical stuff is trying to make it better, and the critical voice is not a good writer. The creative voice is a great storyteller. The critical voice is way, way, way behind. And the reason, of course, is that the creative voice was absorbing story from the minute you were born. The critical voice doesn't even start learning until you hit school years, and even after that. So I mean, it's 10, 15 years behind, even if it paid attention. Most of the time it just bought into the myths and ignored everything. So it's very difficult to get this motivation and to overcome these myths and to get writing. Now, the reason that this lecture is right now is because up on my blog, I just put it in what many people came back and said I was insane. I'm going to be, doing quite a bit of words every month in fiction, a novel a month, a bunch of short stories every month, filling a magazine, doing assignments that I already have under deadline for other anthologies, other short stories, blogs, everything else, and I'm going to blog about it out in public to show people what the life of a professional writer like myself, who has been making my living at this. I mean, it was 26 or 27 years ago now that I sold my first novel to New York. Oh my, I really started writing and following Heinlein's rules in 1982. And if you don't know what Heinlein's rules are and stuff like that, go look them up. And also I did an entire 2-hour lecture on Heinlein's rules and why they work for the creative voice and why everything else. Heinlein's rules, of course, is Robert A. Heinlein, and he came up with these rules in the late 40s. And they are 100% the way most professional writers work. They may not claim they follow those. They may not do it in a certain way, but again, we writers, we sit alone in a room, make stuff up, and when we're out in public, sometimes the making stuff up doesn't stop because all of our fans out there believe that we need to rewrite everything to death. So they expect us to tell them that when we're out in public, and so we do. The editors in New York expected us to spend years on a novel. So we tell them that we did, and they believe us. And see, that's the thing, is our job is to make stuff up. Now in this lecture, I'm not making anything up. I'm just trying to give you a whole bunch of help here on how to get motivated and how to climb over some of these myths. And because all of us in fiction want to write, it is a desire. So, and it's not a hard job. How do you get there? And that's what I hope this lecture will help you a little bit with. Back with the next one.